gain political savvy, and develop your executive presence, and develop your diplomacy skills. And technically that's good advice, but it's very surface level. Most of the people that I work with hear that and immediately shut down because it sounds like they're being asked to be fake or worse, dishonest. Welcome to The Hard Skills. I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, and this is the show where I help leaders in high-pressure, expert-driven organizations build the skills that actually move people and systems and create healthier organizations. I came to this as a clinical psychologist turned executive advisor and leadership trainer with a take that sits where culture, politics, interpersonal savvy, and emotional intelligence meet. If you've ever sensed something about your leadership situation was off and couldn't quite name it, and if you want to get better at the human and political realities of the work, you're in the right place. So let's get to it. Have you ever left a meeting thinking, I was right and nobody listened? Do you feel like maybe that happens all the time or more often than not? I worked with a research director who ran a technical function inside a large organization, and they were sharp, direct, to the point, eagle eyes. He could spot a problem from a mile away well before anybody else, which also meant that when he anticipated and pointed out potential problems, some people felt like he was just constantly criticizing or nitpicking. He wasn't trying to. He was just really good at spotting problems and wanted to be successful the first time, not the fifth time. And in his old individual contributor role, that bluntness was an asset. He would find the flaw nobody else saw, he would note it, and people respected it because he was right most of the time, and it was his job. But as he moved into leadership roles, being right didn't seem to be as appreciated. Instead, when he pointed out the problem accurately to the room, they would go quiet, tense, defensive, and he just started calling meetings like a complete waste of time. He stopped explaining his reasoning because, in his words, like, if they can't see it, that's their problem. And people either feared him or respected him less, and he wasn't having the impact he was hoping for at this level. So he was really frustrated, and so were his people. Now, in the last episode, I mentioned that thoroughness and meticulousness are some of the challenging characteristics of past functional experts in individual contributor roles who have moved up in higher and higher leadership roles, who are intense performers that want to do their best all the time and have high standards, right? So today we're talking about the second pattern I see for them. And this is where independence and directness were a strength in their past role and something they had to train to be really good at. And now it comes off as off-putting and insulting. And that's because leading people and teams runs on trust, timing, and relationships, especially in any organization that's complex enough to have competing priorities, budgets, stakeholders, and a lot of informal networks and influence. And most technical experts have never had to build that kind of social currency because their credibility was based in content. It was based on the content of their work. But now their credibility needs to be based on the process and much less on the content. So when they start having to deal with lots of politics, stakeholders, and consensus meetings, they experience it as noise getting in the way of real work when, in fact, it's not noise at all. It's the majority of the work now. So the advice that they're often given then to develop their leadership is gain political savvy and develop your executive presence and develop your diplomacy skills. And technically that's good advice, but it's very surface level. Most of the people that I work with hear that and immediately shut down because it sounds like they're being asked to be fake or worse, dishonest. So the advice doesn't land well. But navigating politics well isn't about manipulation. It's about understanding that people in the room have their own incentives, their own histories, their own pressures that they're bringing to this, and that your job is to work with that reality, not around it, and not ignoring it, and not dismissing it, right? But instead, deeply understanding and finding the connection between you and them and what's missing. So, what actually helps is applying the same level of rigor to the relational aspect of the work as you did to the technical or functional aspect of your expertise. And it can look like this. Before your next high stakes meeting, spend about 30 minutes doing an environmental scan to plan out how you want to show up at your best and be as effective as possible. So, what is an environmental scan? What would that look like? What's included? Here's what you can evaluate. You can ask things like, okay, who needs to be involved in this? And what does each person actually care about? What would make them nervous about my proposal, even if my proposal is correct? Where is the resistance likely to come from? And why might that resistance be reasonable? What would the resistance look like? And how will I spot it and diffuse it in a way that builds trust instead of pushes people away? How do I want them to feel about me and this project at the end of our conversations? And how do I want to show up and then feel at the end of this? And just jot down some ideas, a vision, a thoughtful way to go about engaging and gathering more information, and then adjust how you engage when you show up, right? Not what you say as the true and right thing, but how you sequence it. So lead with what you understand about their concern before you lead with your conclusion. It's not like you're softening the truth, you're just building the connections so that people can actually hear it and so that you can gather any missing data that could make you or the outcome even more effective. This is part of change management and managing change resistance and just being effective at being heard and being effective at other people really listening in and appreciating what you have to offer. So, if you want help building this skill set and more, and you're ready to join a cohort of highly accomplished people who are working on this together, the fall cohort of the Strategic Leadership Resiliency Fellowship is now open. This is a 5-week accelerator within my TowerScope Leadership Academy. To get on the waitlist, check it out on www.gotowerscope.com, and I will put a link in the show notes as well. And thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.